All right, we're back again. Padres talking Padres, and again, and pulled up my mic. It's been one of those mornings, afternoons, or evening, whatever it is. Jay's gone for the fourth straight week. I believe
Who's
it.
Jay? Who's
Yeah,
Jay? Yeah,
exactly. He might as well
I,
be
I
our.
had a nephew once named Jay.
He might as well be our left fielder.
Oh, yeah, it's tough. It's tough. We do this every week, or most every week, Jack. And I got it. If we don't talk about the same two positions almost every time,
Yep.
I don't know what the answer is. I mean, I obviously. Yeah, we can just belabor it all we want.
I think
The
the
defense
biggest.
for the catchers is the only thing that carries them. And I know the metrics don't show well and everything, but all I can do is listen to the coaches and Schilt and Ruben. They glow on both of those catchers as far as what they do for the pitcher.
Yeah.
Defensive metrics, I don't show it, but they say that it's
It's who the pitcher feels comfortable with. I get it.
Yeah.
But the problem is, like I said, the first week of the season, the first month of the season, when Tatis was lights out and everybody, the first 4 or 5 guys were hitting, it didn't matter.
Yeah.
Then you had Tatis had batted 189 for the month of May,
yeah.
which is, I mean, the guy's got too much talent for that. But he looks like he's slowly coming. I mean, I thought today at first he thought, no, it's a dead center. It's a desert out there. But he still hit it hard, and that's a good sign. And he had some hits this weekend. And what he can do when he's on the bases, his speed was amazing. I mean, it gave us a couple runs. But when he's not hitting, and then you got a Rise who's not really hitting the way his average is 289. He doesn't walk, so he's got to hit to be productive. And so then you look at the bottom of the lineup, and it sticks out like a sore thumb because they just don't produce enough to make up for the stars not hitting. Now, if the stars are hitting, I think you can live with those guys.
Yeah.
But right now they're not hitting, so
yeah. It's always tough though, Jack. I mean, we've talked about the lineup and what it does and everything. And I'm definitely not a manager. I played one in my work days, but as far as baseball, no. But
I stayed at a Holiday Inn Express once.
Yeah, it's always a struggle because you always kind of want to have the hot backs next to each other. And the one thing that Schilt has proven over the year and a half, he don't like messing with the lineup a whole lot. I mean, it's pretty much he wants what he wants. He doesn't like to do knee-jerk reactions, and there's some of that I'm okay with. And then there's times like this because you hit on a hot point for me is if the ideal is to let your best hitter or supposed best hitter have as many at bats, and he's hitting a $189 in May, should he still be leading off? I get the concept. I don't agree with it. I haven't from the get go. I'm not sure if I want him batting second or third right now, the way he's hitting and the way he's struggling. But we were texting earlier, and the Padres went down 1-2-3 in the first again, and you guys reminded me, of course, last night they did score in the first inning. But
first I agreed with you, and then I said, "Oh, wait a minute."
Yeah, but it's been very, very rare that we're just right out of the gate 1-2-3, and obviously you can't move everybody. You can't move everybody to 7, 8, 9, but
you have Tatis and a Rise are not hitting.
Yeah. Well, Arise is still hitting 289. We know that he's better than that, but he's still hitting 289.
Yeah, but 289 for him because he doesn't walk.
Yeah,
so it's like his on base percentage. True. It's like, okay, you're hitting 289. That's probably your on base percentage.
And his on base percentage is probably better than half the lineup right now. So,
which is sad, which is scary.
Well, it is scary, but again, this team is not built for. This is not the Arizona Diamondbacks. And we got to admit to ourselves that they're not. They're not going to be a high profile. They're not going to be the Dodgers. They're not going to be the Diamondbacks. They're not going to be the Cubs. They are not that team. But what's supposed to be the best part of this team is the pitching. and the bullpen and the defense. And when those don't show up, I sense your frustration is the frustration of most Padre fans. That's when it feels like, doggone it, why can't we score runs? Well, that's just not our team. That's not what we're built.
But when they have, like I say, Iglesias today hits a double, hits a ball off the wall, and goes in second base standing up. I go, if you slide, you're safe. It's those things that just frustrate me to no end. It's guys like a 10-year veteran, 11-year vet. I don't even know what he was doing. I thought he got hurt.
I think he thought that he was going to run into the fielder catching the ball. That was my take on it. And he was somehow trying to get around him and then got caught awkwardly where he couldn't slide anymore.
Yeah,
I watched it a couple of times. It really looks like, I think it's Adames, is backing up to the ball, and I think he was expecting to be able to go in, and then he had to swerve about a foot out to try to get to the bag. So
I still slide because the bag is mine.
Yeah, but again, split second. Of course, it's not a good look. But I don't think it was a lack of hustle. I don't think it, to me.
No.
It did not look like somebody just kind of jogging in and like, I got second.
No, he was running full speed.
Yeah,
and it was just a great carom. It went right to the left fielder, and he made a great throw. But again, you slide, you're safe, and then you have Maldonado up there trying to bunt, and I'm like going. I go, he's only bunting because he can't hit. I mean, it's just crazy. It's just these mental mistakes that it is what it is.
Yeah.
But the pitching, the bullpen was lights out today. I love this Morgan kid. He's got an attitude, and I like that. He's got that grit, and that's good from a rookie pitcher who's only pitched 3 or 4 games.
Yeah,
and he's got good stuff.
Well, they have a lot of young arms. They've got some guys that they've brought up and they've sent back down, and so that the bullpen to me has never been a big concern. I know it's got its yips. I mean, Adam had just a rare bad outing the other day. I know there's a little concern because recently he just hasn't looked all that good. But geez, what pitcher? You can go down to the Hall of Fame pitchers and find that they're going to have times where
it's his location. He's still throwing the same speed, so it's no injury.
Well, sometimes it's pitch selection though, because I was reading one of our guys that we both follow, and I agree with him. It's like, what happened to the fastball? Like it's all breaking balls or a bigger majority of breaking balls, and what we always say about pitchers: trust your stuff. I mean, if you got the good stuff, then throw it.
Do you think he's ever since he hit that guy? He's in the head. It's kind of.
Yeah, it's hard to say.
It looks like to me,
2 bad games are not going to change my opinion of where we use somebody and
no, I'm not saying that, but I'm saying it looks like when he's messing by a lot. I mean, he's got a right-handed hit up there. Sometimes that happens. You hit somebody and it was in the head, and the guy laid down I mean, you kind of got to go. You got to have a short memory. You got to I rarely hit anybody in the head. I rarely hit anybody. So I think he'll snap out of it. He's a money pitcher. The bullpen's not the problem. Even the starters aren't the problem. It's just
I mean, I'm really starting to get concerned about Cease because he keeps coming out and saying he's getting close, and I'm almost there and everything. Doggone it, man. We're just past the third of the season, and I think we've only seen the real Cease maybe 2 or 3 times this year. I mean, I'm the first one to not jump off the diving board if it's 3 out of 6 starts or something like that. But we're starting, I think, a dozen starts now, and
I didn't realize he was 1-5.
He's been terrible. I mean, his ERA is still close to 5, and look, I've watched baseball a long time, so have you. That's not a good ERA. I don't care what the excuse is, So. His command is way off. Again, I feel like this is a guy that trusts your stuff. We've had various pitchers come through, and I'm not comparing Dylan Cease because he's much more accomplished than these guys, but how frustrated we got with guys like Chris Paddock and Blake Snell, and Mackenzie Gore and even Ryan Weathers. And, these guys had tremendous stuff, and they would just constantly full count. And it just, you get to a point where you're thinking, okay, this is supposed to be a guy that was 1 or 2 coming into the season, and he's a 5-inning guy now, and that puts a burden on your bullpen, especially with the stretch we've got going now.
Yeah, because when I turned on, I had my grandkids and I dropped them. I was watching my phone, but then I had to drive. I get home and I go 3-2. I go, oh, he must have had it. Then I saw your text. He said Cease is like Blake Snell to me. And then I saw
that was Jay. Yeah, that was
that Jay. Okay.
That other guy that usually
I don't know who that is. I don't know who that is. But he was at 75 pitches in the 4th inning. I go, oh my God. I go, especially during this stretch, it's like, people were upset that Schilt brought Pivetta out for the 7th inning last night. I go, he was only at 78 pitches. You got 26 games in 27 days. These starters have to go more than 5 innings. They have to, especially when we're not blowing anybody out. So the games are going to be close. So you're going to be wanting to use your best relievers. So when Cease, he has to go 6 or 7 innings. And
well, I hate to,
I
know you like to use the word have to. I don't think you have to do anything, but it's definitely helpful. There's no doubt about it.
You have to, because you're being paid to do it.
Well, yeah. We have a different take on that. I don't think.
Well, I'm just saying.
I think you're doing your club a solid if you can find some way to get 6 or 7 out. Now to the Pivetta thing, I agree. Why Schilt brought him out. I was talking to a friend today, and he was, like, why? I don't understand why Schilt put him out there. And I go, well, look at the context of it. It was 5-1. He's sailing along. He gave up 1 run. You've got a long stretch of 26 out of 27 days. Why not try to get another inning? Why not? You've already used your high leverage guys the last 2 games.
It was 5-3 after the 6.
Well, yeah, but the point being, though, is that he's cruising along. If you can get another inning out of him, great. Now, where I'll agree with them is, I would have had a little shorter rope, but that's just me. I would have said after 1 walk
after the walk, okay, I would have taken him out.
Yeah. But again, we love to do our Monday morning quarterback, and he should have done this and he should have done that, and why didn't they pinch hit this guy?
No, but
I think more than anything, I wrap this whole series up as 2 quality teams that are built very, very similar to each other. They both very pitching, very much bullpen. Their bullpen's better than ours. Their starter pitcher. I mean, Robbie Ray's just having a pitcher of the month in May. He's a tremendous pitcher. They got Logan Webb. I mean, they got a solid pitching staff. And their offense is scuffling just like ours. And you get out of the series, and it was 11-11, and they both won 2 games. The only thing I say was in our favor is, but we were on the road. So, we ate up 4 of their home games.
Robbie Ray has been a good pitcher as long as he's healthy. But he's had a lot of health issues over the year. But he's money when he goes out there.
Yeah.
But Adames, what's funny is Fernando Tatis is on my fantasy team. He's been on my bench for a week.
Yeah.
He's been sitting on my bench for a week, and I like Adames is hitting 200. I'm like going, he's just killing me. But it is what it is. Yeah. I think it's easier to hit in Milwaukee than it is in Frisco.
Well, these guys go for large money, and I was talking to guys like. We were just by chance we're talking about the Colorado Rockies, and we've not changing the channel here to the
break them up.
But why don't you just go do like what they used to do? Just go get I sign every big home run hitter I could find, and just try to beat everybody to death. Of course, his joke was that it actually is pretty appropriate. It's like, wow, how'd you like to have the Arizona Diamondback lineup, playing in Colorado? I'm like, holy crap.
Yeah. It'd be pretty lights out. Like you said, like if Manny played in or Sheets.
It's a lot of it is where you play. I mean, it really is. I mean, look at all the lefties that play for the Yankees. Look at all the righties that play in Fenway. I mean, some ballparks just are more offensive minded. and the Padres and the Giants don't play in those. They play in pitcher parks. So
yeah,
you're going to get what you're going to get. I think it was a great series. Both teams could have won all four. There was so many little things, as we call, that could have happened on all four games that could have reversed who won. So
exactly. Yeah,
you tip your hat, and I thought it was kind of cool. And again, I'm not a lip reader or anything like that, but at the end of the game today, and Manny's sitting over at third, not at the end of the game, but as the end was getting there, Manny put his arm around Matt Chapman, and I could swear that he's probably saying, "Boy, two good teams going at each other. What a great series." And
I
you
can
hear the players even say that. The players were even saying that. So.
Well, it's funny you said it in the text. I went back and watched it because I can read lips, and Manny said, "I'm having a better year than you." But
let's switch over to Manny.
Matt Chapman's a quality. He's a good third base. He makes some great plays. I mean, they made some great plays in the Giants.
Their defense was outstanding in the last two games. Outstanding.
Yeah.
I mean,
that kid they brought up, Johnson. Yeah. I mean, he had 2 hits, and that play
stole
made
a
on
base
a
and played it right. Yeah. No, it's a good team. It's funny. Me and you have talked about this before. I respect the Giants. I hate the Dodgers.
Yeah.
I there's something about the Giants that don't rub me wrong. I very much dislike the Dodgers. I don't like the Diamondbacks. Rockies don't count. But when we play the Giants, I want to beat them. I mean, I want the Padres to beat them, but it just doesn't rub me wrong when they lose to them. I just think they're a quality team and a quality organization. So.
Yeah, the Giants have never bothered. In fact, when they won their 3 World Series, I was rooting for them. So it's like I never root for the Dodgers. Screw them. Yeah. And they came back. They came back to beat the Mets today. But anyway, you had said something about making Manny Machado the captain of the Padres. He's the unofficial captain. I mean, I think everyone knows he doesn't have the C, but he is the captain.
Well, and so I looked it up, and I got a couple of friends that I talked to about Padre baseball, and I asked both of them. I never got to connect with the other one, but do you think that the Padres should put the C on Manny? Because I looked it up, and the Padres have never had a C captain.
Yeah, they had. When you said that, I was trying to think, who was the last captain they had? I go, I can't think of one.
So there've been a couple of unofficial captains. So Gary Templeton was the unofficial captain when he was there, and Tony Gwynn was considered a captain, but nobody ever put the C on it.
But Gwynn wasn't one of those guys to get in your face.
Exactly. And so I kind of asked the question because I think Manny deserves it. I'm not going to stump for him and all that, but I started thinking about it. It's like, what would that do for Manny that he already doesn't have? I mean, he's already got the respect of the Golden Ball players. I think it goes a long way to show the Padre organization, that they value what he's doing. I mean, obviously, he's getting paid a lot of money, and everybody speaks glowingly of it. And it's like, so just put the C on him, for crying out loud.
How many teams right now in baseball? I mean, I don't know if you know this off the top of your head. How many teams in baseball have a captain?
Not very many. I know the Yankees are smart about it, and I think most teams are. Yankees don't always have a captain. They tend to have one, but they don't always have one. When Jeter left there, I don't see Michael on here today, but I don't believe they named a captain right away.
Michael is holding his head in shame because they only won one game.
But now Aaron Judge is the captain, so to me, captain is, I mean, you don't have to have one, but I don't know. To me, it was one of those things I just off the top of my head just started thinking the other day, and just like, why don't they make Manny the captain and just make it official? So.
Yeah, because he definitely is the captain. I mean, he's the guy. He's the guy that's going to get in your face, and you saw it with Tatis a couple years ago, when he first went to the outfield, he was pouting, and he just tore into him. And some people said, "Oh, Manny showed him up." No, Manny was right. Yeah. Tatis was not acting like a team player, and he was acting like a big baby, and someone needed to. Should have done it in the locker room. I go, no. I go, you do it wherever it's at. If he's acting like a baby.
I like to think that he probably was doing in the locker room and it just wasn't getting through. So, it was, I remember it was in the moment because he had, struggled in the at bat and, he got, then, like you said, he was pouting coming back and Manny got in his face. And again, I don't know if it's ever rightfully so because we weren't there. We don't know if he did address it in the locker room. If he didn't, then shame on him because you really should. But the bottom line is everybody needs a wake up call, in their life. There's always a point in your life where, okay, wake up, stupid. What are you doing? This is, and usually it's more of, to me, a reaffirmation that's like, you're better than that. You're better than that. You've shown me you're better than that. And why are you acting like this? Or why are you doing
usually when I need a wake up, I'm usually the one to tell me, hey, wake up, dummy.
Well, as you mature, you start realizing that you need to do it to yourself. I mean, I made more than my share of mistakes in life and not going to psychology 101 here, but you finally made enough mistakes that you say, okay, wait a minute, where am I going now? This is, I need to straighten it up. I'm pouting or, I'm making too much of something or, just get off your high horse and get back to life.
Oh, I know I've told this story before and I was 8 and I don't know if you ever bowled with Bill Herr or know of Bill Herr.
I know who he is. Or used to know.
Yeah. So his dad was my dad was a manager. His dad was the coach, and I had a habit of throwing the bat when I swung, and right. Yeah. He literally just lit into me. I mean, I'm just the point. I'm 8, and he just tear me up and down, up and down, up and down. I go, but you know what? From that point on, I never threw the bat. And I told Bill, because he's on Facebook, I sent him a message about 5 years ago, telling him that story. I go, yep, to this day, I don't throw the bat. So your dad scared me straight.
Well, I can't throw the bat anymore because I don't play anymore. So.
Well, no. See, my problem is I use the bat to hold myself up. So it's like a cane. But yeah, I'm 100% behind with you. I said, yeah, just put the C on his jersey.
Yeah.
Give him the he's right now he's carrying the team offensively. Him and Sheets are carrying the team.
We got a few guys that are going in pretty strong right now. I mean, again, I know Arise doesn't walk, but he's still getting a lot of clutch hits and inning starters and things like that. And of course, Manny's hit a couple of big home runs and about 2 weeks ago, yours truly especially was maybe 3 weeks ago, it was like, okay, 3 home runs. I know he hit some in bunches, but those bunches, need to start coming out pretty soon. But there's no doubt about it. His defense, and he's been the most consistently solid guy. I heard a statement that just blew me away today. Listening to I was catching it on the radio, so I didn't hear all of it. But they were somebody made the comment that Jackson Merrill has been off. He's come down. That's what it was. He's come down from last year. And I'm like, the dude is hitting 316. Are you kidding me? Like, what are you expecting out of this guy? He didn't have that high last year.
No, I think 294 was his average last year.
Yeah, so sometimes we just get these people that just get in these microcosms of 2 or 3 games and think, oh, he's coming down. Guy's still hitting 316. I know he's got maybe half the at-bats everybody, but he's still hitting 316. He's hit 4 or 5 home runs. He's still driving in runs. You asked me the other day, and I checked it real quick. Within margins, he's striking out about the same as he did last year.
Yeah, I looked it up after
5-1, and I think now it's maybe 4.5 to 1. So
it's just because it's to me it's his body language after he strikes out. He just has it. It just looks like he's not having fun. Obviously, striking out's not fun. I was
gonna say I don't know if a guy started smiling when he struck out. I'd kind of
wonder
what was going on in his head.
Let's face it, Merrill is not the problem offensively.
Yeah. And you got Bogarts has been hitting well. I know he's people are making a big deal. He's got more infield signals than anybody. So what? How are we going to start grading how people get on now?
Well, the only problem is he's had 1 RBI in the last 18 games.
Yeah, but look what's been hitting in front of him.
Yeah,
I mean, RBIs. I will agree with Jay. Jay's more of the new age, what a guy means and everything. And it's funny, it kind of sparked me. Our friend Jim from back when we were playing fantasy baseball. And we used to talk, there used to be a lot of discussions about what's more important, runs scored or RBIs. And I remember just dogmatically defending neither. Like they're all predicated on what's around you. You know, a guy who scores a lot of runs, well, that's the guy that's maybe hitting the front of the lineup and he's got Aaron Judge sitting behind him. Look at Juan Soto. Juan Soto scored like 140 runs last year. Why? Because he got Judge right behind him. If you get on, you score, you know. RBI, same thing. If you know, look at Tatis. Tatis has still got 13 donks, but he's got 28 RBIs. Well, why? Because there's nobody ever on base when he comes up. So even if he does get a hit, you know. So
that's the major problem with him hitting leadoff is your bottom of the lineup is so bad. There's never anybody on when
exactly, which is why I've been arguing since the day we started this. Why is he hitting number one? Well, I understand the whole getting at bats. Well, if you're going to do that, then let's move Merrill up to first, Tatis second, and Machado. Okay, then Arise and Sheets. It's like let's give those the three guys that can hit bombs and the guys that can hit for average and put them up in the front. Then.
Well, you know what? I would be okay with Merrill leading off and having Tatis because we had a conversation about 3 weeks ago. I said no, you got to have Merrill protecting Machado, which I think he does. But there's no one. I mean, you have Sheets. Sheets is doing pretty good, but I still think if I'm going to pitch to anyone, I'm still going to pitch to Sheets over Merrill because Merrill is a better overall hitter, I believe. But Sheets is having, let's face it, a great year. I mean, he's having a career year. But I'd put Merrill at lead off, Tatis second, and because then you got speed, and you have Manny third. I'd put Sheets fourth, and then I would put Arise fifth.
And then, somebody was asking me, Jack, kind of going through the lineup, and again, we all like to be Twitter managers and all that kind of stuff. But I'm a little old school. I don't know what the situation is, but I feel like if I'm the manager, I got to send a message, and I'm putting Tatis down at like 6. I'd like, you know what? Until you get yourself straightened out, we're just going to put you down there. And I don't know what the conversation would be. I don't know if it's Tatis still going to Schilt and saying, I still think I should be lead off. I don't know if Schilt's just dogmatic about it and saying, no, you should be lead off. I don't even know if they're having a conversation about it.
Schilt's a player manager, so he's not going to rock the boat.
And that's fine. But, if the player keeps saying, I want to hit first, and, now you're hitting down to 260, and you're walking, a little bit more than you used to, but you're still striking out a lot. The body language is just horrible to me. I just can't get over it. Forget the results. It's just the body language, just frustration or pouting or whatever it is.
I think the last couple,
the guy's lost his attitude. He's lost his fire. I mean, I truly, we've all watched Tatis for 4 years. He does not have the same fire that he used to have.
No, well, because he's not being successful. A player of his caliber, hitting 189 for a whole month. Yeah, I'd probably have that same attitude. Because
you can't.
I know you can't.
I know you can't. But you can't get any better if you're kind of giving up.
Well, what do you always say? They're human.
I get it.
And you're just like going, God, I can't hit the damn ball. And we've all done that in any sport, like it's golf or bowling or football, hockey, baseball. It's like all of a sudden you can't do what you're really good at.
Yeah.
And it's like, why am I struggling? What is wrong? Right. And I think he's slowly coming out of it. But again,
I hope you're right. I mean, he's a great player. I'm not trying to, I'm not one of those guys. Oh, let's trade Tatis or let's, bench him or anything like that. I just think you get to a certain point where it's like, I'm not being mean spirited. Just like, you know what? Let's put you down here and let you figure yourself out. Right. I mean, look at Merrill last year. You know what? He started with the 8 hole, went to the 7. He was at the 7.
He was also batted 9th for a while too.
Yeah, and then he came up to 6th and everything, and we're all like, move him up, and they move him up, and then they're okay, move him back. So this year you're thinking, okay, let's just drop him in the 4 hole. I don't know, maybe it's time for Merrill to go down to 5 or 6. Just it's not about messaging. It's to me going back to the who's playing better right now, and we got to get him a few more bats, and sometimes that's just one more at bat every fourth game, but. You got to put, look at Sheets, started this year at the 7 hole, and now he's hitting either 4th or 5th, usually 5th. Why? Because he deserves it, because he's been hitting strong. And if he starts, going back down or something like that, well, then, okay, now let's move you back to 6 or 7. And
I think maybe it's also too when you're playing. No. Don't worry, Oz. Okay. She's just kidding. But I think the two, when you're, like you said, I compare myself to, major leaguers, but when I was batting leadoff, I had a different attitude. My job was just get on base. When I was batting second, okay, my job was to move the runner over, all the way down. I was never a power hitter, so I didn't bat fourth. But, it's just like there's a different attitude. So maybe Merrill batting fourth, he thinks he has to provide more power. I don't know. I don't know the mindset. So again, and Tatis too, even when he's on base, he's not stealing anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we all said something I said, send him, and he didn't go. And there was a double play, I think, something like that. I'm like going, well, he's got the speed.
Yeah.
Send him, let him go. But I don't know. It's just, I don't know what the answers are. I do know that they got to figure out left field offensively and the catcher spot offensively.
Yeah, and I don't think the catcher spot's going to change a whole lot. Again, I'm reading between the tea leaves here, with the comments that are made about how much they needed the pitchers, that they're a coach on the field and all that kind of. And I've heard that about good catchers. That's pitchers love their catchers, and if the catcher feels right and calls a good game and does the right studying and all that. And I defend what Schilt is doing because, except for when he needed a bunt, which he had the right guy up there. Maldonado successfully bunted before. He looked terrible at it today, but he has been successful bunting. But, usually he'll pinch hit for Maldonado with Diaz or somebody else and put Diaz in. So I can live with that. Yeah, left field's just a big hole, and I was actually shocked when Lockridge got a hit in the 9th inning. I mean, it's like, holy crap, he actually got a hit, Love Tyler Wade as a utility guy, good defensive replacement base runner. But
he can't be starting.
If you just can't, keep putting him out there, then it's going to show, the 220 average or whatever it might end up being, So, but again, we have to have patience. We just passed the 3rd. Everybody's looking for somebody, and I got the feeling Preller's going to make a move, but we just don't know when, because sometimes, like last year, he's able to jump early and go make a surprise trade. And then other times you just got to wait till the trade deadline gets here because people aren't ready to move anybody yet. And we've tried everything in left field that we've got. We've tried Ornelas. We've tried – God, the list is getting long. Hayward and Lockridge and Tyler Wade and Oscar Gonzalez and
forgot about Oscar Gonzalez.
It's not for lack of trying. We just don't have that guy. And God forbid we put Sheets out there because he would do another face plant into the wall, but lose him for the whole season. So
yeah, I was going to say, I go, okay, that should be the last time he plays the outfield because that ball was hit about 10 rows deep.
Oh no, he almost caught it, but
it was 10 rows deep.
No, he almost caught it, Jack. That one hit off the top of the wall.
No,
it was a valiant effort, but the effort problem wasn't the problem. It's that he doesn't play left field enough to know not to face plant the wall to try to catch it.
I thought
he needed to get up in the air. He went right into it.
I'm gonna go look at it after we record, but I'm pretty sure it was like 10 rows deep. And I'm like going. And he, like I said, he hurt the wall more than he hurt himself. He's a big guy. And his face, when you say face plant, his impression of his face was still there.
That was hand. It was his hand.
Oh, it was his hand?
You're going to go look at it again, but yeah, it was his hand. Yeah. Okay. But anyway,
either way,
the problem being is that he doesn't have enough experience out there. He's a first baseman DH. And I think he does an okay job at first base. So every once in a while giving a Rise a day off, I don't mind that at all. Rise is, I texted you guys today. It's like, I know he gets a lot of criticism, but I think Rise is playing in some very good first base. He's
I would say
not a traditional first baseman. I get it, But the guy has been picking good, and he's been playing great defense on the grounders and
heads up plays. I think, to be honest with you, of all the positions he's played, that's his best one.
Yeah.
Playing first. I mean, he was pretty good last year, but he's really improved this year. I have no problem with his defense.
I think
and going to both.
Him being at first, Jack, to your point, he doesn't have to have the range that you need as a second baseman.
No, you don't.
And I think that's his fielding, his actual glove is good. It's the amount of range that he has. You know, you look at Cronenworth, and he's got at least 4 steps each way. And it rises maybe 2.5 steps each way.
And I was going to say about Bogart, because people are bashing Bogart, and I go defensively, and I was shocked he has a shoulder problem because his arm looks stronger this year than it did last year. And I go, because there was a couple plays. I go, he doesn't make that play last year. He doesn't make, and him and Cronenworth have been playing well, turning the double plays.
Yep.
And I'm like going, But people, I think people just bash Bogart because they want to bash him. I mean, he's again, I would probably bat him like 7th in the lineup, and maybe Cronenworth 8th. But okay, let's get to. There was a rumor out there that Padres were talking about getting a left fielder, and it was Jarren Duran from the Red Sox, and I said sure, but then they were talking about trading Leo, and I said I'd trade Salas. I'd trade Salas for him, but I'm not giving up. I'm not. I said Salas and Estrada, and you guys went, "What? You want to get rid of it?" I don't want to get rid of Estrada, but if you got a lot of bullpen arms, I think you can get rid of somebody.
Well, look, I always say about trade rumors, it's the devil's in the details. It's no, I mean, honestly, it's real life, but it's no different than fantasy baseball and how many conversations over the years you have in front of them. So you have to kind of dicker around a little bit, who won. Oh, I'm not giving up that guy. And, who's asking high. We don't even know what the conversation is or if it's actually happening. Right. This all started by
I'm sure there was something there, but it could have just been, hey, do you want to trade him? Forget that. We're not trading you that.
Yeah. And the bottom line is without the details, but Duran is, till the end of 2028. That makes it attractive. That makes it more expensive. I agree. You're not going to get him for nothing. I know they've got a guy, Roman Anthony, that's down in the minors. They're just itching to bring up, but there's no place for him to play. And of course, that would be Duran's position.
Yeah.
That having been said, they're probably no different than Baltimore Orioles. Like, no, we're not going to just give up somebody because we need to find a place to play. So I think that the Padres would probably have to give up some young prospects. So just say it out loud. DeVries is untouchable right now.
Yeah, I don't.
It's too early. He may not even be a major leaguer at the end of the rainbow, so to speak. But it's too early to give up a piece like him. I've always said about Salas, not now because he's on the injured list. He's out for a couple months. Don't sell low. You got to wait till he comes back. So I don't think he's going to be part of a deal anyway, unless the Red Sox just really, really want Salas. Having said that, we've got some young arms, some young bullpen arms. But, I'd hesitate to give too many of those away because, again, Suarez is gone next year. Adam is gone next year.
Well, we still have. I think Adams is still under contract, didn't he?
I thought Adam was.
I thought we had one more year of control.
Do we have a year of Adam?
I think so. And Suarez, if he's going to opt out, but the way he's pitching this year, he's going to opt out.
Oh yeah,
and be honest with you, I wouldn't. You got to keep King.
You're not going to get him. Let's just get over with it. Season King and Suarez are gone. I see absolutely no way that those three are here next year, and a rise is maybe a 5% chance. Those guys are all gone. I mean, that's why it's so important to win this year, And we said that, a couple of years ago, and then you realize, there's Prayler's got to, go make some deals and all that. But I see no feasible way for them to keep any of those four, except for a rise is a maybe. But that depends on his market. And let's face it, the fact that Minnesota traded him to the Marlins and the Marlins traded to the Padres, there's not a whole lot of interest in a guy that hits 320 but doesn't walk, and until this year maybe showed as a defensive liability. So I think that's the only way the Padres keep him is if he comes on the cheap. But cheap is relative. $14 million this year.
Yeah.
And I just played my part of GM, and I was like, if the Padres offered, could get him for $14 million a year for the next 3 years, would you keep him? And I'm like, I'm not sure I would.
No,
I don't think that's no.
I don't keep a rise. I just don't pay him what he's, because again, I like him. I like when he's up because I think, okay, he can get a hit. I'm comfortable with that. But the lack of walking, and it's just a frustrating thing to me. I can't, he's 5'6", 7, maybe. He's got a low strength.
No, and this has nothing to do with, to me, a rise in his spirit, his
no,
competitiveness, all that kind of stuff. I like that, but
he's a good teammate.
In the off season, you start talking about money. In the middle of the season, you're probably not talking about a whole lot of money unless people who are bagging on Bogaerts because of his contract, But for the most part, the players are the players in the middle of the season. And I get to the off season, then I even start caring about money. But once the team's set, I don't care about money anymore.
Right.
Like who cares? Who cares what anybody's getting paid? Are they performing? That's all I care about. But yeah, I think those 4 pieces are gone. And so again, I think it's very important that when you're going back to the possibility of a Duran, I'm not sure if that's the right fit because I think of what you might have to give up. I still think that you're better off going and renting somebody on the cheap, cheaper. You get Ward from the Angels. I know lots of people like Luis Robert. I don't know if a change of scenery makes that any much of a difference, but at least he's got a good defense. But we already got a couple of those guys. But do we need to take a chance? Well, I mean, do we need to take a chance on the guy who's hitting $190? I mean, come on.
I agree, but a lot of people. It's funny. A lot of people want him. And I'm like going,
he's the savior. He's got to come over and be changed.
Well, we did talk about it about 3 weeks ago, and I said only thing you might if you catch lightning in a bottle because he's a free agent after this year, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe he goes, okay. We talked about this before. He has 2. I have 2 good months, and I'm in the playoffs. I go, people are going to want to pay me money. Maybe I don't know what I would trade. But see someone like that. Okay, I'm not giving up a lot for that. Yeah, I'm not giving up a lot for a Robert, whatever his name is. I was thinking maybe I was looking at the Braves, like maybe Michael Harris. You could trade for Michael Harris. I don't know. The Braves are struggling, and they could use bullpen arms. They brought up Kimbrel today.
Yeah.
That guy
don't get me wrong. A guy like Harris, but again, that guy's not going to be cheap. He's already got a big contract.
Yeah.
So
I'm just throwing names out there that guys that you could put out there.
I think the issue is, Jack, and we're no different. Look, we're Padre fans. We're Padre honks and everything, and we always are going to look at things a little bit more slanted towards the Padres. Like, oh, that guy's worth more, and that guy, But the bottom line is I just don't know if I'm ready to give up much for something that's so bad right now. I love those human stories where a guy gets a new lease on life, Gavin Sheets, and and does well and everything. Who doesn't? The David Peralta last year, and especially the Donovan Solano, and those are great stories, which I find humorous because that same guy that me and you like to follow is bagging the Padres for their fascination with old guys. It's like, well, what do you want for $1 million or $2 million? You're not going to get some young stud. And guess what? The guys that same person was asking for have failed, and failed. All 3 of his recommendations all failed. So what's the difference here? Paying an old guy with some veteran leadership who's maybe on his last leg versus getting 3 minor leaguers to come up and fail, come up and fail, come up and fail. What's different about that, right? So in his wisdom, I think AJ Preller has said, I'd rather go kind of like, I know their skills are not quite as good. I always think of Moneyball and David Justice, and the famous, scene where,
Hey, can we get David Justice in his prime?
But I mean, it's a great scene, it's when Billy Bean, goes over and talks to David Justice about, needing to buy in and walk more. And of course, David Justice, whether it's true or not, basically tells him, hey, maybe you let me do the ball playing. And he goes, look, this is what the Yankees think about you. They're paying your, $10 million a year salary to play against them. So what do you think, David? And he goes, yep, okay, I got you, and it to me, it's what you're trying to get out of these old guys is maybe some leadership, because everybody speaks glowingly about having Jason Hayward on the team. Like, this guy, he's right. He's going to be, I think he's going to be a coach. I really do, because of everything you hear people say about him.
Well, I said that.
But at the same time, is he performing? No, he's not. And
I
they
said
gave
that
it
in our text last week, because when Kolek hit what's his name, it turns out if you watch the replay, it hit off the bat.
Yeah,
it didn't hit him, and so, but you had
it was Flores. It was earlier this
Flores,
week.
Flores, and you had Hayward, hothead. You had Hayward, Manny Machado,
Gavin Sheets.
And somebody else was out there. It is like, and it's like, okay, I'm not going to start a fight, because any one of those guys gets a hold of me, I'm toast.
Somebody put that on X and said, 6'3", 230, 6'5", 240.
Yeah. But I said, I think I text you, and I said, I think he'd be a good coach, because I think he has a high baseball IQ. I just think his skills have eroded. It happens. I mean, it just, without steroids, when you start getting 35, a lot of players start to go downhill. It's not back in the steroid area where, hey, I feel stronger. I have the ability to play 162 games. But I don't know what they're going to do in the. They got to do something. But again, if Tatis is hitting, and if the top 5-6 guys are hitting, it doesn't matter.
Well, and again, I go back to
with our pitching, we're scoring enough runs. Especially with our bullpen.
I go back to my text, my signature last week. Instead of Jerry, I was 31 and 23. One game out. Here we are. We're 9 games over 500, and now we're 2 games out. Okay, so despite all the whining and complaining that all us Padre fans and everybody does, the bottom line is there's still 9 games over 500. So and I disagree. I'm sorry. I'm looking at Maz's. I disagree. Mentoring can help you win championships. It won't win it completely, but it is important. Team chemistry, young guys listening to guys who've been around for a while, what pitchers throw, what your approach is going to be on this particular guy. So it does. It means a lot for these guys to hear. That's why they have hitting coaches. That's why they do all the statistical analysis. These guys got a lot of raw talent, but they need mentoring. They need statistics. They need, trends, tendencies, things like that. So
the thing, it only doesn't work is if you have a young player who doesn't listen.
There you go.
And has a low baseball IQ. So you can have all the talent in the world, but eventually you have to have some concept of how the game's supposed to be played.
I wish I remember who it was, Jack. You said that, and it sparked a memory, and I can't remember, but it was an ex-baseball manager, and he says, despite what people think, baseball players are really dumb. They know how to hit a baseball. They know how to pitch a baseball, but it's just like they're just not the smartest guys in the world. Now, I disagree with that, because I hate generalization, but I found it humorous, and it's probably somewhat true, because I was a manager for many years, and I had some really, really smart people work with me, and I had some really dumb people work.
You can use the word dumb here.
Yeah.
Going back to man,
it's a generalization that I don't like, but to his point, obviously he had run into enough players that led him to make that statement.
Well, I think it's true, because I think a lot of players don't make it, you look at their talent and go, all right, how did that guy not make it?
Yeah.
You look at, okay, going to Ryan Leaf. I know I'm changing sports. That guy had all the physical tools in the world. He looked like he was going to be a Hall of Famer, but he had, and it's funny, I listen to him on sports radio now. He's very knowledgeable, but he had such a crappy attitude.
Mm-hmm.
And that killed his whole career. I think that you look at Manny Machado. Why has Manny Machado been so successful all these years? He has talent, but he also has a high baseball IQ. He's very smart. He's extremely smart. A lot of players don't make it because I don't think they understand the game of baseball. They don't understand it. They went through their whole career, their whole, from Little League to Pony League, on and on and on, high school, college, whatever, because they had more talent than everyone else. But when you get to the major leagues, you gotta be able to, like you said, mentoring. All right, this guy's been an all-star for 15 years. He's trying to tell me something, and I'm just like looking at him like going, "Shut up! I know what I'm doing." Yeah. That player's not going to make it. Yeah. But a player that absorbs it, like of Jackson Merrill. Jackson Merrill absorbs and he listens to people. But there's players you can go throughout time that had all the talent in the world and didn't make it because they were cement heads. Okay, go ahead.
No, it's a very valid point, Jack. I was going to interject that a lot of times I found that the people who had it the easiest sometimes did not learn. Now, my son, I'm going to say right at one of my sons was a good baseball player, really good pitcher in Little League, not of the biggest size. In fact, he's one of the smaller guys in the league, much like I was when I played. What I always said, though, is that he had to work twice as hard to be able to learn how to pitch. He had to have perfect technique, all those things. And then there was bigger kids who I don't think were nearly as good technique-wise, but they were just so much bigger than everybody, they could just overpower everybody.
They had 10, 15 miles an hour more in their fastball.
Exactly. And so as you go on, some of those kids lack the need to get better because I'm already the best. To your point, whether it's college, whether it's high school, wherever along the line, somewhere you meet the road that says I'm with people who are just as good as I am,
right?
If not better.
Exactly.
And oh crap, that doesn't work anymore. Well, I don't know anything about I'm a golfer. I say the same thing. I never took a lesson, but what I did is through the years, I picked up little nooks and crannies about my own swing. And I always tell people that want to start golfing, it's like, well, first, start working on it, maybe take a lesson. I didn't, but unless you want the long and hard road that I went through, learn your swing. You learn what it is that makes it right, what I need to do, what it needs to feel like, because sooner or later you're going to hit a time or a period, much like a batter, that you're just not going to like, man, what is going on? I don't understand. And if you don't know your own swing, if you don't know what you're supposed to do, now you're looking for that mentoring. And so to your point, there are guys that take that mentoring and there are guys who don't. And usually the guys, I would say 99% of the guys who take the mentoring get better. Not saying they get all the way better, but they get better. The guys that don't listen, you're not going to get any better. You're going to struggle.
And it's funny
find yourself digging ditches.
And players like that seem to get traded pretty quick. It's like, okay, this guy just is not grasping it. He just won't listen. He's not a team player. And in team sports, I think you have to be a team player. You have to do the little things. Yeah. And if you don't, unless you're just awesome, say you're just you're the top player on the team, you might still be able to get away with it. But if you're just a guy that you had talent all, like you're saying, all through you get to the majors, everybody has talent.
Yeah,
I mean,
and I think the other thing is the attitude. So one of our favorite players, Jackson Merrill, that's one of the things that really attracted me to him. Granted, the good player and all that kind of stuff, but the attitude was always about the team. So it still is. I want the team to win. I want to hang out with my brothers. I want to win a championship. And so he's one of those, we're fortunate because he's one of those few that just right off the bat, they know what they want and what they should do, what they should say. We always say, I don't know if he, kind of believes himself. I think he does. I think he really is truly that way. Look at the guy behind you, Manny. It took him a while to learn that lesson, I think. I really do. I think he's always been a great player. I think he's always had the talent, but I think he went through some immaturity his first
Well, he was
5
he,
to
he was
8
a
years.
hothead.
And I think he finally, realized it's like, no,
Grew up.
I can't do that anymore, and maybe it was the fact that Baltimore let him go, and then he played for the Dodgers, and they didn't want him, and now the Padres do. I think he started, you can't help it, man. You mature, you start thinking, you know what, I need to set a better example. At that time, he's like, I'm by far the highest paid player on this team. I need to show. I need to show that I
And
care. Show that I care about my teammates, and
I
go
think
back to the captain thing. Yeah,
I think Tatis needs to grow up too. I think we say it all the time.
I think he's still got some growing to do. Yeah,
yeah, he's better, but he's still, like you said, his body language is just like. I mean, I get it. It's
but
a frustrating
thing, Jack. The one thing I give him though, and you've commented too, he's one of the first guys up on the step when a guy does something good. So,
yep.
I don't like the look of when you get out and you go over to the bench and you put your head down. I don't like that look. But what I do like is, hey, he's up there with Manny and Merrill and all those guys, and they're the first guys to give the fist bump and the elbows and all that kind of stuff. So he's still in the game, and like you said, maybe a little bit more, but it's hard, Oz. It is hard to be uplifted when you're having a bad time. But I'll give you my little league. I'll give you my little league speech. I remember we were getting trounced. It was like 21-4, and the kids were all on the bench and between innings, and they're all pouting and everything. And I said, "Look, you may not want to hear this, but those guys," and I pointed to the other bench, "they don't feel sorry for you. They're going to go out next inning. They're going to try to score more runs. They're not going to quit playing because they feel for you. That's the other team." So the same thing when you're hitting a $189, the other teams are happy about it.
Yeah,
they're happy, like cool.
Especially a player like Tatis.
Somebody down the line is going to pay for this, and it's not us.
I said, would both you say Tatis helped Manny grow up? I'll say this, maybe because Tatis had so much energy his first few. I mean, he still has a lot of energy when he's doing well, but his first year he was just. I think Manny learned to enjoy the game.
Yep.
More with Tatis. I think
he helped him grow up too.
I think he did.
Yeah. You need to learn how to lead. You need to have people that want to be led, and I think that's where they're a good pair. I think it's a great point, Oz, that they needed each other. They hit each other in the perfect amount of time because Manny was 19 when he came up, and here's Tatis who's 19 or 20 or whatever it was. He can sit there and say, I know what that kid's going through. He's got as much talent as I had when I was there, if not more. I know what he's going through. Come on, son, let me show you the ropes here. And I think Manny's done. Manny was the one that told the manager, I forget who it was at the time, said he needs to be on the roster.
Right.
Manny was the same guy that told Merrill needs to be on the roster. It goes back to the captain. Don't think that Schilt and Preller aren't listening to Manny about, what he sees in spring training. I would be shocked if they haven't, had many private conversations with Manny, Joe Musgrove, and guys like that. Like, hey, what do you think about this kid? What do you think?
It goes to his high baseball IQ.
Yes.
I mean, I have
the triple play. The triple play is the best example of high IQ. Yeah.
But anyway, I was going to say about Merrill too. As he's such a team player. I think the fans were the fans, including myself, were more upset that he didn't get Rookie of the Year than him.
Oh yeah,
he's like,
well, until they found out that they get an extra pick or whatever it was, and then he's like, oh man, I didn't know that.
But he's such a team player. We have a good nucleus, but we got to somehow. We'll see what happens. But anyway, let's. I can't remember.
9 games over 500.
9 games over 500,
right?
And then next
week,
that
in spring training,
I'll take it now.
Yeah, exactly. That's just the the big thing to me is last year, and I don't have the exact data. I should be better prepared for our show here, but I would have to say since we were close to 500, we were probably already about 8 or 9 games out of first place.
Oh, easily.
And so to me, you always want to get past everybody. You want to, just hang tight. Just hang tight. This is a good time to just keep playing good ball, stay right on the tail, right on the fumes. That's fine. You just don't want to be sucking air, like the Diamondbacks right now. It's a pretty good team. The pitching sucks, but that's a pretty good team as far as hitting.
They swept the Braves.
But I think the Braves beat them one game. But bottom line is, they're still 8 games out. How'd you like to be there right now? Because you got 3 teams in front of you, and you're 8 games out. Yeah, you get to play these guys, but now you're getting in the position we felt like we were in last year in the second half. Every series, man, we got to beat 2 out of 3. We got to beat 2 out of 3. We got to always do that. Last time I looked, the Padres are 8-4 in their last 12 games. That's a pretty good record.
Considering how frustrating they've been, that's excellent. I did look at the sheets thing. I think you might be right about the ball. I can't see the ball, but the way the fans are acting. But
the guy had his hands out like this, like he's going to catch the ball.
The face is the imprint, not his hand.
I thought it was his hand.
No, it's his face.
Okay. All right. I'll have to try.
All right. So next, let me check the schedule.
We got Milwaukee, and then we got the Dodgers.
Dodgers for 3 or 4.
I believe they're both 3-game series. I believe.
Okay, I'm looking.
We only have 3 games at home in this stretch. You do realize that, right?
Really? It's the rest is all on the road.
Everything else is on the road. We go to Milwaukee, then we come back, I believe, to play the Dodgers for 3. And then we go right back on the road and we play Arizona, and then I think we play the Dodgers again in Chavez Ravine, and then Kansas City.
I'm gonna tell you, I like the road games because
you get those. Did you get it though? The schedule?
I got. Trying to see the Dodgers. I think the Dodgers is 3. Let's see here. Yep. So it's 3 with Milwaukee, 3 with the Dodgers. It's I guess their only day off is next Thursday, the 12th. I don't see us playing that day. So, 3 with the Dodgers, 3 with the Brewers. Brewers are on fire right now. Did I take you off?
No, I accidentally clicked. My mouse was sitting on the wrong button.
All right. I said, where'd he go? Yeah. So anyway, let's see. 3 games against the Brewers, who are red hot. Dodgers, their pitching is terrible, but they just have an offense that just.
Hey, guys, I'm going to vary a little bit. The next 6 games, I don't know if it's 6 or 7, but it's 6 games.
6 games.
3-3, and I'll take it. I right now, hands down. Well, if it was 3 wins against Milwaukee and 3 losses against the Dodgers, maybe not. But still, bottom line is on the road, play 500. That's what we got to do. We got to find some way.
We're in San Diego for the Dodgers.
Oh, right? That's true. But you know what? I'll still take 3-3. I'm just a big believer in holding our ground right now. I mean, who wouldn't like to go on a big run where we win, 11 out of the next 12 or whatever? But realistically, in this stretch, I've been looking at this stretch since April. These 15 games, it's like, man, if we could just find a way to go 500 or somewhere close, I agree, Oz. I think that's very cautiously optimistic. I want to be there, but I'm saying 3-3 because you're right, Jack.
First time ever she didn't go 6-0.
I know it. So, well, Oz is a very savvy baseball fan and realized. I mean, this is a tough stretch. I think being overly optimistic is kind of silly. Would I take a 6-0? Heck yeah, but since
I'm going to go 3-3 too, just because it's the Brewers are playing great, and the Dodgers are the Dodgers. You never know. I mean, their offense has just got. I mean, you look at
they're a great team, man. I mean, look, we don't like them. We want to beat them, but they're a great team. I hosted a trivia night last night, and just by chance there were some LA firefighters and police officers. They were here for a golf tournament, and so they were at the lodge there, and so they joined and played it on a table, and I got to talking to them a little bit and everything. And I told them, it's like, look, you're in San Diego. I'm sure you don't like the Padres. I don't like the Dodgers, but I respect the heck out of them. I mean, how can you not? 12 out of the last 13 years, they won the division. I feel like I'd be kind of moronic if I didn't at least admit that, and it hasn't always been about the money. It has been recently, but
they've always had more money than most people.
Well, the thing is too, though, they're smart about some of their money, and I'm not talking about the deferrals. I'm talking about they have a front office that looks forward, and I think we do now too, but we didn't at the time. So they knew, that Freddie Freeman was coming out. They knew that Ohtani was coming out. They knew that the Boston was looking to jettison, Betts. They look for that. They looking at contract ends and saying, okay, yeah, we're gonna be able to outbid anybody, but let's make sure that. I mean, look, I'll say this about the Dodgers too, real quickly. They let Sager walk. They let Bellinger walk, who are two still really good players, and yet they found a way to replace them. So we can say what we want about what they've done, but the bottom line is they had a plan, and that part of that plan was we're going to have to let these guys walk.
Well, their plan was to some guys coming up that didn't produce, so they went out and got Trey Turner.
Yeah,
and I was like, see, they've always had the Dodgers used to be a team. If you look at their roster, their main stars are not from their farm system.
Not at all.
It's not the same team. It's not. They don't build their team the same anymore.
No, they build it better though.
Yeah. Well, again, I'm saying, but they used to. Many Dodger fans criticize Padre fans for years, saying, "Oh, you don't have anybody coming up from your farm system. You have to go." I go, the Dodgers are the same way now. It's just the problem is the Dodgers have. I mean, if you're a player, if I'm a player and I want to win a championship, where am I going to go?
Yeah. Well, you could argue the same thing about the Padres until recently. We used to ask the question, when's the last Padre of any significance came up? And it was Jake Peavy.
Yeah.
Like that's probably the last guy that we've had come up in our farm system. Tatis we can kind of sell because we traded for him before he got to the major leagues.
Jackson Merrill.
I'd said until recently.
Oh, okay.
So now you got Jackson Merrill, and you got some of these relievers that are coming up through the system. But, that's just part of baseball, though. Nobody cares where you got them and how much you pay.
Oh, I don't. It was a big deal to Dodger fans, and I'm just like, how? I go.
It's a big deal when it's the way you do it, and now if you do the same thing, you chastise somebody else on.
Yeah,
so I'm like, your way's better. Yeah.
Well, whatever. But anyway, we'll see what happens. It pains her not to say 6-0. Yeah, maybe maybe they'll go. What were they? They were 4-2, and then today's game we didn't do a 4 game.
Yeah. So, yeah. Again, 8-4 in the last 12 games. So they're doing well. I think the sting of that 7-game losing streak is still kind of residing in all of us because we had built up kind of this thing. But then you start looking, it's like, yeah, but we're still only 2 games back. And when that all started, we were 2 games back. So basically, us and the Dodgers and the Giants have all played basically the last 20 games almost exactly the same.
And it's funny about the Dodgers because I gotta get out of here. About the Dodgers is, you looked at their roster before the season started. You're like, how are you going to beat these guys?
Yeah.
But now they have all kinds of holes because a lot of their guys they've signed have a lot of history with injuries.
Yeah.
And it just, unfortunately, again, you don't get better as time goes on. As you get older, it's like, everyone keeps saying, I want Ohtani to pitch. I want Ohtani to pitch. I'm like going, I wouldn't pitch him.
Yeah.
I wouldn't pitch. I'm not a Dodger fan. I like Ohtani is the face of baseball, but there's no way I'd pitch him. There's just no way.
To your last comment, I was on the radio the other day. The Dodgers have $110 million worth of injuries on their pitching staff on the IL right now, which is more than 7 other baseball teams altogether. So.
Yeah, I know.
On that note.
All right, guys. Thanks for joining us. Maybe Jay will be here next week. I don't know. But anyway, I got to go because I got another thing I got to do. But take care, everyone, and we'll see you next week. Go Padres!
We do miss you, Jay. Come back.